Chapter 4. The Change. The dying fluorescent light in the dormitory flickered erratically, casting twisted shadows that danced across the concrete walls like living things. Liam sat hunched over his journal at the small metal desk, trying to document Evan's deteriorating condition while fighting off the bona-deep exhaustion that had settled into his skull. It had been 18 hours since they'd returned from the research ward. 18 hours of watching their friend transform into something that defied rational explanation. Evan lay on the narrow bunk, his breathing shallow and wet. The green tracery beneath his skin had spread like a roadmap of infection, threading through his arms, across his chest, and up his neck in pulsing veins of bioluminescent horror. His body temperature had spiked to levels that should have killed him, yet somehow he remained conscious, hyper-aware in a way that made Liam's skin crawl. "Still writing your little stories?" Evan's voice was different now, rougher, with an undertone that seemed to resonate from deep within his chest. When he spoke, Liam could see that his saliva had taken on the same phosphorescent quality as the infection in his blood. "Just documenting symptoms," Liam replied, not looking up from his journal. If he'd filled 12 pages in the past few hours, tracking every change, every progression of whatever Charlie Whiskey was doing to their friend. Mike sat on the adjacent bunk, the green-stained keycard in his hands. He'd been studying it obsessively, as if he could somehow reverse engineer a cure from the thing that had infected Evan. "How are you feeling? Any changes?" Evan's laugh was a wet, bubbling sound. "Changes? You mean besides the fact that I can hear your heartbeat from across the room, that I can smell the fierce sweat coming off all of you, that I can feel every vibration in these concrete walls?" Vince lowered his camera, his face pale. That's not possible." "Isn't it?" Evan sat up a fluid grace, his movements suddenly predatory. "You'd be surprised what's possible when you stop limiting yourself to human parameters." The casual way he said human made Liam's blood run cold. He glanced at Mike, who was staring at Evan with the focused intensity of someone watching a dangerous animal. "Evan," Mike said carefully, "you're still you. This thing, whatever it is not going to change that." "Change what?" Evan's head tilted at an unnatural angle, studying Mike like a specimen. "My winning personality? My charming disposition? Or maybe you're worried it'll change my commitment to getting us out of here." He stood in one smooth motion, his coordination perfect, despite the fever that should have left him bedridden. In the harsh light, the green network beneath his skin pulsed brighter, and Liam realized with growing horror that it wasn't just following his circulatory system anymore, it was creating its own pathways, its own alien architecture within his body. "You want to know what's really changed?" Evan continued, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried perfectly in the small room. "I can feel it, the whole bunker, every room, every corridor, every sealed door. It's all connected, Mike. One big organism, and we're just visitors." "That's the fever talking," Lem said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You need to rest." Evan's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Rest? I've never felt more awake in my life. I can see things now, understand things, like why Paul really disappeared." The mention of their missing friend sent a chill through the room. Vince raised his camera again, his hands trembling. "What do you mean?" "He found it first," Evan said, his blue eyes now carrying flecks of that same phosphorescent green. "Just like I did. But he was smart enough to go deeper, to explore what this place really is, what it's really for." Mike stood slowly, his hand moving to the bolt cutters he claimed as his weapon. "Evan, you're scaring us. Maybe you should lie down." "Scaring you?" Evan's grin was too wide, revealing teeth that seemed sharper than they should be. "We're trapped in a Cold War bunker with a sentient biological weapon, and you're worried about me scaring you." The lights flickered again, and in the brief darkness, Liam could swear he saw Evan's eyes glowing with their own internal light. When the fluorescence stabilized, Evan was closer, much closer than he'd been a moment before. "You want to know what's really scary?" Evan whispered, his breath carrying that sweet, cloying scent that made Liam's stomach turn. "The fact that you're all still thinking in terms of escape, of getting out, when the truth is, we're not prisoners here, we're candidates." "Candidates for what?" Liam asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Evolution." The word hung in the air like a curse. Evan's skin was changing now, taking on a grayish pallor that made the green tracery beneath it stand out like circuitry. His breathing had become more labored, but not from weakness, from something else, something that sounded almost like anticipation. The original researchers, Evan continued, his voice taking on an odd lecturing tone. They thought they were creating a weapon, something to incapacitate enemy populations. But Charlie Whiskey had other plans. It doesn't just kill, it improves. It takes what's human and makes it better. Better? Mike's grip tightened on the bolt cutters. Look at yourself, Evan. You're sick. You're dying. Am I? Evan flexed his wounded hand, and they could all see that the cut had sealed itself, not with scar tissue, but with something that looked almost metallic. I feel stronger than I'd ever felt. Faster. More aware. The only thing that's dying is the part of me that was weak, limited human. He moved toward them, and his footsteps made no sound on the concrete floor. The casual grace of his movement was wrong, inhuman in its perfection. Stay back, Mike warned, racing the bolt cutters like a weapon. Evan paused, his head tilting again in that unsettling way. You're going to threaten me after everything we've been through together? You're not Evan anymore, Liam said quietly, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Whatever that thing is doing to you is changing you into something else. Something better, Evan corrected. Something that doesn't need to be afraid of the dark. Something that can survive down here, in the deep places where humans were never meant to go. The lights flickered again, and this time they stayed dim. In the half-darkness, Evan's transformed features were even more pronounced. The toe-sharp angles of his face, the predatory gleam in his eyes, the way his shadow seemed to move independently of his body. You want to know what happened to Paul? Evan asked, his voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to come from the walls themselves. He understood. He stopped fighting and let it happen. Let himself become part of something greater. Part of what? Vince whispered from behind his camera. The collective, the hive, the thing that's been waiting down here for 50 years, growing stronger, more intelligent, more patient, and now it's ready to expand. Evan's body convulsed suddenly, his back arching as something moved beneath his skin. The green tracery flared brighter, and for a moment, Liam could see the outline of something alien writhing within his friend's chest. Jesus Christ, Mike breathed. What is that thing? When Evan straightened, his eyes were no longer blue. They glowed with the same phosphorescent green as the infection in his blood, and when he smiled, his teeth were definitely sharper than they should be. It's beautiful, he said, his voice now carrying multiple tones as if a chorus was speaking through him. It's perfect, and it wants to share that perfection with all of you. He lunged forward with inhuman speed, his hands reaching for Lamb's throat. But Mike was faster, swinging the bolt cutters in a vicious arc that caught Evan in the shoulder. The impact should have dropped him, but instead he merely staggered, green fluid leaking from the wound instead of blood. Run? Mike shouted, but Evan was already recovering, his movements becoming even more fluid and predatory. The thing that had been their friend smiled with genuine affection, as if violence was just another form of play. You can't run from what you're going to become, it said in Evan's voice. The bunker is sealed, the infection is airborne, and I'm just the beginning. As if to prove its point, the lights finally died completely, plunging them into absolute darkness. But in that darkness, Evan's eyes blazed like green stars, and his laughter echoed from the walls themselves. The change was complete. Their friend was gone, replaced by something that wore his face like a mask. And in the depths of the bunker, other things began to stir. Things that had been waiting patiently for new hosts to join their eternal collective. The real horror had only just begun.